sometimes you do put other people first, and that's okay. But you just have to understand the detriment of it. And at that event, I didn't understand, like, I'm going to miss lunch. I'm going to be starving for the rest of the day. Nobody knows where I am because I didn't know this was going to happen. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. You can't really know until you know.
I made too many commitments, too many parties, too many barbecues, too many weddings. I remember I was spread so thin with too many relationships in many ways. And you got to be real careful with this, and you got to protect your time and effort so that you don't burn to the ground.
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another very special, as always, episode of Next Level University, where we teach you how to level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. We hope you enjoyed our latest episode number 1305, What Does Vulnerability Actually Mean to You? Today, for episode number 1306, one reason many of us get burnt out. We had a late night at the Airbnb when the team all came in, not all the team, but the team who did came in, and leave it up to Alan and I to kind of leave our presentation, our PowerPoint, to the night before the event. So we've done that in the past. You and I are usually pretty good with that because it's fresh in our mind. We like to figure out, okay, now that we know who's coming, how do we formulate this right? So that's really worked
preface.
Well. Yeah.
Quick preface.
Please.
We did finish the guidebook in advance.
Fair.
So it's not like we left all of the content.
Fair.
We knew. We knew what we were going to do. We just didn't have the PowerPoint done yet.
Yeah, fair. We had
all the frameworks. We had all the,
Yeah. And we already had we had the outline. We knew, okay, session 1, this session 2, breakout session. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I appreciate that. Making us look better than I am, making us look worse.
I want to show the truth.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's all, the truth.
That's fair. So that night, we did a bunch of other stuff. You went for a walk with the team. I think I just hung out, ate, and watched something on YouTube. But then it was like, okay, we know who's coming. That's all figured out. Volunteers have their responsibilities. That's all figured out. All right, let's do this presentation. Now we have an understanding of what to do, but we just want to put something together nicely. And the team was like, awesome. We can't wait to see how this goes behind the scenes. This is going to be great. And we're like, yeah, it's hopefully. It might not be as great as you think. We'll see. So we start working on it, and it takes time, right? I mean, putting something together with that level of intentionality, it just takes time. And Jesse was creating the digital assets in Canva because we are not good at that. And Amy and Christina and Jesse are really good at that. And I don't think Amy was there yet, right? Amy D wasn't
Correct.
there yet.
Yeah. It was me, you, Christina, Jesse, and Amy L.
Yeah.
And there's that big screen in the living room that we hooked your laptop up to. And then Jesse was driving. First I was driving, and then it was first it was Kevin driving, and then you're like, hey, can you drive, man? And drive means be on the laptop. And then it was like, you know what, honestly, Jesse, can you just drive and create this stuff? The assets were so good. I'm still going to be using some of them in my coaching, but that's kind of the play-by-play. You got Kevin, Jesse, Amy L., Christina, and myself all in one living room in a cabin, honestly, by a mountain. It was amazing. On a lake. And it's late night. It's probably 9:30 p.m. when we started. And we have a guidebook to go by. And Jesse's creating the guidebook into a PowerPoint presentation to facilitate the day. And it was the best, I think, collaborative experience I've ever personally had, where there was no ego and everyone was kind of pitching and catching in their own genius zones. And so Kev, for example, when it comes to delivering content on a stage is very good, particularly with our audience, but doesn't know how to use Canva very well.
Yeah.
I'm good at the frameworks, but I'm not as good at the story and the structure and the experience of it. So we're all kind of and it was really cool. For me, that was a really special moment of all of us are collaborating without ego. It was really good. But it was also late, and we were all spread really thin, and that's what you're going to get to. So.
Well, I had a moment, and I tried to preface this with a team where I said, hey, at any point, if you are getting super tired and you're burning tomorrow's fuel, please go to bed. At any point, and I said this a couple times, and there's a reason I said this. This is the reason. Because one reason many of us get burnt out is because we solve other people's problems before we solve our own problems, thus creating more problems for ourselves. And I knew we have the best team in the world that's filled with people that just want to add value and believe in the mission so much, and they're just driven by adding value to the community, that I knew they would stay up late. Regardless of how late was, I knew they weren't going to go to bed without us, but I wanted them to. because I didn't want this to happen. I was afraid of that. And we talked about this in the team call yesterday. It's like, yeah, I might have slept 3 hours, but I'm kind of used to that. Like, whatever. It's not that big of a deal. I don't care. It's only one day. Like, I'm already thinking about when I get to sleep the next day. It's not that big of a deal. But I also understand that not everybody functions that way. And honestly, not everybody should function that way. And I told you this, Alan. I said, after it was all said and done, and I think it might have been the Sunday after, I said, just keep an eye on the team, because I don't know if we fully understand how much of a burn that is.
Yeah.
Like being away for 3 days, staying up way past what you're normally used to staying up, getting up earlier than maybe you do, the discomfort of the event. I said, just keep an eye on the team, because I think that's probably more burning than you and I can understand, because we've just been doing this for long enough. So that really is the goal of this episode, is number one, for you to understand how often do you swoop in to solve someone's problems at the detriment of yourself. And if you were able to try to reformulate that intention and understand, okay, I only have so much to give. I only have so much energy left. I only have so much water in my bucket to pour from. How could you show up differently and more intentionally? That would be my question.
We used to talk on the Hyperconscious podcast during the Hyperconscious podcast days about this book all the time by Gretchen Rubin called The 4 Tendencies. Kev, I think you read that book and then you started talking about it, and because you knew our listeners struggle with being an obliger. So the 4 tendencies are a questioner, an upholder, a rebel, and an obliger. The rebel cannot keep promises to him or herself or other people. The obliger always keeps promises to other people but not to self. The questioner keeps promises to self but not to others. And then the upholder is someone who is learning how to be good at both. They can keep promises to themselves and promises to others. Our listeners tend to be obligers, and that's kind of what Kevin's referring to here, which is Jesse, Christina, and Amy L. So keep in mind, Amy L is emceeing the event, and she's outside of her comfort zone, maybe more than what she let on. I don't know. But to your point, Kev, it was interesting for you to say, like, this, don't underestimate what this might do to people because it's way outside their comfort zone. I don't think I've ever been very good at maybe identifying how hard those things are on people. And I think to your point, we're so used to it. I remember back in college, I used to pull all-nighters and then do a signals analysis test that was just horribly brutal. Even the best score was a 76, and then they have to bell curve the thing to make it, and I would pull an all-nighter and still barely pass the damn thing because it was so hard. And so, like, I do sometimes, I think, underestimate what this can do to people, and I'm going to get better at that as a leader. But to the point of this episode, if you're out there listening, you might be an obliger. You might be putting other people's needs ahead of your own at the expense of yourself. And then you might be creating problems for yourself that then you have to go solve behind the scenes so that you can get back in a place to where you can go add value again. And this all comes down to Amy L mentioned this at the event, and it's simple, and some people think it's corny because it's been told so many times, but it's the best way to articulate it. When the plane's going down, you have to put the oxygen mask on yourself first. And that is the analogy, because there's a book by Ayn Rand called The Virtue of Selfishness. And I found that book fascinating. And I don't necessarily think everyone should read it. I don't necessarily think it's a world-class book or anything. But I do think that the idea that putting yourself first is selfish is not intelligent. Because if you are burning down, you have less to give. And so what if what's best for you is what's best for the world? What if what's best for you is what's best for others? If you're an obliger, if you're someone who wants to serve, if you're someone who's a good-hearted person, if you're heart-driven, then what's best for you is what's best for other people. Maybe not in every circumstance, right? There's extreme scenarios where if, like, Kevin really needed me and I'm like, well, I'm doing my yoga, bro, right? Like, obviously that doesn't make any sense. But holistically, you can't burn yourself out because then you're useless to everyone, including yourself.
It's something I'm trying to always be conscious of, where I think I've used this example before, but this is just the same thing, just maybe at a deeper level. If Taryn and I have friends over on a Friday, I usually have a call, depending, I have a call 10 a.m. on Saturday, actually 9 a.m. on Saturday, I think. And I'll say, babe, just FYI, I'm probably going to go to bed at like 10 or 11. I'm going to go to bed earlier than everybody else, most likely, if people are staying over. Just an FYI, because I can't if I oblige everybody tonight, I will pay for it tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And not only will I pay for it, but the business will pay for it. My clients will pay for it. I mean, I've had nights where I stayed up way too late, and it's like I wake up and it's like, oh no, today is gonna suck. Today is gonna be brutal. It's gonna be brutal.
Those moments.
Those
the
worst.
moments are the worst.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
But
You look at your calendar and you're like,
I had that.
there's no way.
Yeah, I had that the other day.
There's no way I can
I
do
had that
this.
the other day. I had 9 to 10, 10 to 11, 11 to 12, 12 to 1, 1 to 2. I think I had like an hour break, and it was like 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5, 5 to 6. Like, oh, this is good. This is going to be great. I love this. But when you have this happen enough times, or when you see it enough times, you start to understand, oh, interesting. This is probably going to be one of those opportunities where I burn tonight and it affects tomorrow. I just think that's an awareness thing. I've had times, I remember this, where I went down, so we had a studio in Worcester. I needed something from the studio, I think. And Bianca lives where I used to live. Shout out to Bianca. And I was like, hey, can I swing by and grab something? I got something in the basement. And I literally consciously thought to myself, and I think I told her, I was like, I can't stay long. I can't stay long. Because if I get caught in conversation with you, the rest of my day is going to go off the rails, and I'm going to be either late for something, or I'm not going to be on schedule with what I had planned. My state's going to be off. So that's just another example of if I stay longer than I should, there is a downside of that.
Definitely.
And I think just being aware of the downside, using that as a necessity to put up a boundary, and just understand, look, most likely this person's going to understand and appreciate me setting that boundary, but I have to set the boundary, because if I don't, I'm going to be the one who's getting the pain in the butt on the other end.
I absolutely love book club. It is my favorite way to start the weekend. We talk about the chapter that we read previously, and it made a big difference in my life and the beginning of my journey of self-development. And it is a very kind and welcoming community. And it's a great space where if you want to just sit and listen, you're able to, but there's also a lot of space for discussion and questions. I have nothing but good things to say about book club.
That'll be the last piece that I say. I know we got to jump here because Kev has another podcast in 5 minutes.
No, I'm good. We both have calls in 20.
Oh, okay. All right, awesome. Well, then, buckle up, listeners. We're going to hang for another 20 now. So last night, this is the hard part about having goals. No one else knows what's required of you for your goals. So they might not understand why you have to leave early. They might not understand why you have to go. I actually got a call from my mother recently, and so my aunt owns a place on the ocean in Narragansett, I think. Yeah, Narragansett. And my mom called me. So first she texted me yesterday. She said, call me. And I had to set a boundary with that too, because I said, is it urgent? Because can you please, what's going on? What's up? Is it bad? Is everything good? Are we good? I don't want to, please don't say, just call me right in the middle of the day, because then I'm sitting here worrying. Mm. So anyways, she's like, no, it's nothing bad. All good. Just call me. I said, okay, I'm back to backs today, maybe tomorrow. And again, listeners, I want you thinking about your own family dynamics, I had one client, Kev, who the sister texted them saying, hey, I already booked my flight. I'll be at your place on, May 23rd to the 27th. Never even asked. Can you imagine? Oh, okay. Nice. So from the 23rd to the 27th, I'm going to have you at my house. Mm. And again, maybe that's the dynamic they have. It's not. Right. It's not. And this person is scared to be honest with her sister and be like, can you at least ask when you book a flight across the country? Mm. Right? Don't book a flight and pay money before you ask whether or not you can come to my house. So again, our listeners struggle with boundaries. They struggle with putting others above themselves. This is exactly it right here. Same. My mom calls me up. Or no, I call her because she texted me saying, call me. And she's like, hey, and it was very sweet. Do you want to go to Narragansett this week? It's going to be 84, 85, 80. It's apparently really warm this week. I don't know. Right? Which is awesome. And I was like, I appreciate it. This is me trying to be so kind. And Mom, if for whatever reason you were listening, I love you. But here's the thing. No, I can't go to Narragansett on Thursday. Yeah,
I'll
on a
go. You want me
Thursday.
to-
Emilia
you
and
want
I
me
are
to buzz
going
on down?
Yeah,
I'll
we're
buzz
gonna
on
buzz
down.
on down to Narragansett, right? I don't know what you think entrepreneurship is, right? Tell all my clients, hey, you know what? I'm going to be at the beach. So, I appreciate your goals and your success, and I want to see you win, but first I would rather be at the beach, honestly. So, no, and at the end of the day, if you love the beach, you go do you. I don't care about that as much, and yeah, I can maybe book a trip, but I can't do it on a whim. She's like, this week. She's like, do you want to do it like Friday? You think I'm going to go to Narragansett like this Friday? Mom, you don't understand how my life works, right? So again, hopefully all the listeners are relating to this. With feeling misunderstood, I said, Mom, I'm a business owner. I can't just go to Narragansett this week, like on Friday, because it's going to be nice out, right? Can you imagine?
Well, if
it's
you
funny.
did, the only like you would just go and work. So it's like, yeah, I can go, but it's just is the Wi-Fi good? I'm just gonna be stuck in the room.
Well,
all the
she
time.
was
Doesn't
sweet
matter.
about that. She's like, well, you and Emilia can work. The Wi-Fi's good. X, Y, Z. I won't bother you. So she was nice about that. But it's just one of those things where it's like you don't. And I had that moment, Kev, where it's like, well, wants to see me. I wanted to oblige. I did. I wanted to oblige. I wanted to go see my mom. And so instead what I did is I said, Emilia and I are going to talk tonight, and we're going to get together with me, you, and her family soon. We're going to go to the lake. But we're going to plan it. We're not going to do it on a whim because the weather's nice, right? So, and again, that's just the way my life operates. But here's my main point to that. Other people don't know the cost that you have.
Right.
And you have to communicate that in advance. Like you going to Bianca's place, the cost of you spending an extra half hour connecting might be way more than what she can understand in that moment. And it's very hard to communicate this to people who don't have large goals. This has been a challenge for me for my entire life. So for the listeners, if you're challenged with this is, in my opinion, one of the hardest things in the world.
I have very few friends, so it's not. I have very few relationships in general, so it's not super challenging. But I think that's because I always try to. We talked about this in the meetup. I always try to go in and set a boundary right from the beginning. Like I have to leave at X time.
Yeah, you're way better at that. I don't do that very well at all.
Well, because I think I know how hard it's going to be if I don't.
Mm-hmm.
I've just had it enough times where it's like I'm standing in the doorway, like, okay, it's time for me to go. This is going to get weird. Where if I say, because I'll say that I'm going to bed at whatever time. Yeah, I'm happy to come down. Taryn and I are happy to come down and stay the night, but I have to leave at 7 a.m. Like, are you going to stay for breakfast? No.
Great
Can't.
habit. It's a great habit.
It's very helpful.
It's so
Because
helpful.
It's almost like it allows you to. It's kind of like training wheels, right? If you find yourself as somebody who is an obliger, it's kind of training wheels for you might want to oblige in that moment, but if the person remembers the boundary you set originally, it makes things a little bit easier.
It's setting expectations.
Yeah,
Definitely. I remember. Yeah. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but it was July 4th. And Emilia and I had said we were going to leave at noon on July 4th. And her family was like, it's July 4th. And we were like, well, we said. So don't expect it to always work when you set that. It's definitely still an awkward moment.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, you have the day off. My mom even said that on the phone. She's like, you have the day off, though. For what'd you do on Easter? She's like, what'd you do on Easter? You had the day off. I don't know what you're talking about, honestly. And again, as an entrepreneur, for the entrepreneurs listening, there is no day off. I don't have Easter off.
No.
You know what I mean? And I know you know the deal. So I could take Easter off, but it's very different. So just feeling misunderstood by your peers, by your family, wanting to oblige them at the expense of yourself, this is the thing. This is one of the biggest challenges I've ever had. Kev, you've definitely not had it as much, but strong work, and I think you're definitely a good guide in this.
I appreciate it. Well, I think this is, when I was thinking of a topic for today, it was like, I know our community gets burnt out. I mean, especially if you're a parent and you're a provider in your home, and there's a lot that goes into that. The last thing you need to do is like, what's Alan's problem right now? Because I find myself doing that. I've done that in the past where I'm staying up. I love helping the community. I love helping the community, but you want to know a really, really easy way to get burnt out? Answer all of your DMs, all of your emails with thoughtful messages, then go try to do a 10 out of 10 day. Like, you can get burnt out doing that. So I have that experience too from the service side, for sure.
Since we have the time, would you mind telling the story? We were at Your World Within Live, which is the second event we co-hosted. Shout out to Eddie P. And you spent the entire lunch, instead of with the whole team and with everybody, with this person who really needed you, which I thought was also great. And I think that's your heart, and that was wonderful. But it also was at the expense of, like, Taryn didn't know what you wanted for food. It was like, and honestly, in hindsight, that was not the leverage point, right? Spending time with the whole team. We all went to lunch, all 25 of us. It was beautiful on the ocean. I mean, you missed out on an opportunity, but you also were helping a community member, which, again, your heart might burn you out. I had that. Yeah. Go ahead. We interviewed Catherine Nash on stage, and I think we were the first people up. I don't remember the order. But we broke in between. I think there was like 5 speakers or 6 speakers. We broke in between, and there was lunch. And we were walking. So we were on the 11th floor, 10th floor, 9th floor? 11th. Yep.
I know you'll remember. We were on the 11th floor overlooking the ocean in Hollywood, Florida. It was beautiful. And you walk out of the room, and I think we were like walking towards the elevator, and somebody said, "Hey, can I chat with you for a second? Your story really inspired me," because I think we mentioned our stories on stage a little bit. And I was like, "Yeah, of course." I said, I'll catch up with you guys. It should only be a minute. I know my Wi-Fi is Jeff and Dory. And this person like shared with me how they had suicidal ideations, and they'd really struggled, and they'd had depression and anxiety. And we just sat down and started talking. We talked and talked and talked and talked. And I think I got down to lunch with like 5 minutes left. And I think I had a salad waiting for me because Taryn got me something. But yeah, it was very much just pouring and pouring and pouring. I mean, that happened at Next Level Live 2023. I had to go to the bathroom in between our speeches, in between our presentations, but I was doing the breakout group. So I was like, whatever, I'll figure it out. Like, I'll find a way. You know, that level of, sometimes you do put other people first, and that's okay, but you just have to understand the detriment of it. And at that event, I didn't understand, like, I'm going to miss lunch. I'm going to be starving for the rest of the day. Nobody knows where I am because I didn't know this was going to happen. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. You can't really know until you know.
And then all of us had to kind of fumble to figure out what Kev wanted and stuff. So it also affects other people. Yeah. And that's the other piece. So again, what's the best decision in a given moment to put yourself, to put others, and that, I think that it shifts. It shifts. Of course. And yeah.
Communication.
Kev, just want to ask, your internet was messed up that whole time. Do you want to retell the story, or you want to just keep? Okay,
no, we're
cool.
Good. Yep,
all good.
We're good.
All right.
Anything in closing?
I would say, what's your tendency? That's the question I had written down, which is, what's your tendency? Do you tend to be an obliger? Do you tend to be a questioner? Do you tend to be a rebel and just, go off the rails, for lack of better phrasing? Or do you tend to be an upholder, which is someone who keeps their promises to others and to themselves? And are you overpromising at the expense of self? Because when you have too many, I remember when I used to have, I don't want to say too many friends, but yeah, I made too many commitments, too many parties, too many barbecues, too many weddings. I remember I was spread so thin with too many relationships in many ways. And you got to be real careful with this, and you got to protect your time and effort so that you don't burn to the ground.
100%. Next Level Nation, if you are burnt out and you're looking for support, you're looking for belonging, you're looking for your people, please join our private Facebook group, Next Level Nation. Link will be in the show notes. We're coming up on 700, I believe. Amazing NLU family members in there. So there's plenty of room for you. It'll always be safe, and you can always be yourself.
If you are looking for more incentive to read more consistently, readers are leaders. This book is Cleaning Up Your Mental Mess by Dr. Caroline Leaf. We still have 2 more chapters or 3 more chapters of this book. I'm going to be putting a poll in Next Level Nation with 5 book options for the next book. If you click the link in the show notes, you'll go to the landing page for book club. You'll be able to say, hey, my name is Jane Smith or John Smith, and it'll email me. I'll register for you. And then you can just join us. You'll get an email and you'll just join Zoom, and you can participate as much as you want or not at all. It's entirely up to you. Some people participate the whole time. Some people read the chapter every time. Some people don't. Some people just listen in on their walk. And it's at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every single Saturday. We hope to see you there.
Next Level Nation tomorrow for episode number 1307. You need the permission to be imperfect. We had a really powerful team call Wednesday night, and that's where this thought process for this episode came from. So I am sure you will enjoy it. As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. And at NLU, we do not have fans. We have family. We will talk to you all tomorrow.
Don't burn out, Next Level Nation.
Nice.